Hello, my friends. Today I am doing my movie and book wrap up for October. And as it was spooky season, I watched a lot. So without further ado, let's get into it. So every single year, I rewatch my favorite horror movie of all time, It Chapter 1. And then, of course, I have to rewatch It Chapter 2. This is a yearly tradition at this point. I then went to see the official release party of A Showgirl for Taylor Swift's new album, The Life of a Showgirl. And this counts, it was in the cinemas. I really love this album. I don't understand the hate it's been getting. I will never understand the hate it's been getting. It's such a great album. I then went and saw Him in the theaters, and I feel like this movie had the potential to be something great. I just think that it was executed poorly. It could have gone in a great psychological direction, think Whiplash but for football. Instead, it went satanic, and I think that that was a bit of a miss because it ended up coming across quite silly. However, the performances from both the leads were outstanding. I then watched VHS Halloween. I've seen every single VHS movie. This came out on Shudder last month, and it is one of my favorites in the franchise. I think centering it around Halloween was such a great idea. Some of my favorite segments were Fun Size, Coochie Coochie Coo, and Home Haunt. I then watched Vicious. This is on Paramount Plus. It stars Dakota Fanning, and it is sort of a supernatural story about this box that you need to give three items to: something you need, something you hate, and something you love. And if you put the wrong things in the box and you're not honest with yourself, bad things happen. It sounds really good. The concept was great. However, it went for way too long. It was just a bit lackluster. I think that they didn't need to make it so long. It could have been shorter and sharper. However, Dakota Fanning gave this performance everything she had. I was then home recovering from surgery, so I rewatched some of my favorites: The Ring, and of course, The Ring 2, and Smile 2, which I do think is better than the first Smile movie. I then watched Hell of a Summer. This is a horror comedy that came out this year. I think this was way more comedy than horror. It was just joke after joke after joke after joke. I do wish they'd leaned into the horror more. However, I did laugh at some points. It is very Gen Z. I then watched K-pop Demon Hunters. This was our movie club pick for the month. Me, my mum, and my sister have a movie club. It was my sister's turn to pick, and she chose K-pop Demon Hunters. And this was really good. I really enjoyed this movie. I love the animation. I love the art style. I love the songs. All of the songs were such bops. I think it's great, and I totally understand the hype now. I then watched The Home, and this was awful. This is about a guy who has a criminal record. To escape going into jail, they give him the opportunity to do community service at an old folks' home. However, when he arrives, he's told not to go to the top floor, and obviously, on the top floor, there are weird, spooky things happening. Honestly, Pete Davidson was awful in this role. He did not look like he cared at all. Every time a spooky thing happened, his face was just like, it didn't matter how horrific the events were, he was so nonchalant about everything. He had the same expression for every single thing that happened. The only thing I will say is the final scene was great. There is so much carnage and gore, and it just goes balls to the wall, and it's worth watching just for that part alone. I finally got to see The Black Phone 2 in cinemas. I was meant to go the week it came out, but obviously I had surgery and then I was recovering and then I got sick, so I had to wait. And honestly, I don't know if we needed a sequel. I prefer the first film. I'm sorry. I think this film had good moments, but it took about 45 minutes before the grabber appeared. And that's just way too long because when I see a Black Phone movie, I want to see the grabber. I also think it was a little bit tonally off. The dialogue was kind of cheesy, but I love the grainy filming style that Scott Derrickson has adopted. You see a lot of this in Sinister and the first Black Phone film. I'm seeing a lot of people say that if you liked the first one, you won't like the second one. If you didn't like the first one, you'll like the second one. And yeah, I like the first one a lot more. And finally, I watched Hell House LLC Lineage. This is the fifth and final installment in the Hell House franchise. And this is the only film where they chose not to do it in found footage. And I don't think that was the worst choice. However, sort of like Vicious, it just went way too long. And not a lot happened. There was barely any horror in this movie. I think this could have been much shorter. And even though they're saying this is the last film, they left it really open for more. Okay, TV shows. I finished Drag Race Philippines Malaysian Royale, and this was a great season. I cannot wait to talk about it when I do my end of year wrap up and ranking of every Drag Race season in 2025. This one's definitely up there. It was a great time. It was so good to celebrate Asian excellence all over the world. And my husband and I finally finished Monster, the Ed Gein story. We actually finished it on Halloween night. And 5 out of 5 stars. I love this so much. I liked it better than Dharma. I think Charlie Hunman's performance was phenomenal. I learned so much about this story. Yes, not all of it is rooted in reality. However, Ed Gein did inspire a lot of horror media, such as Psycho, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Silence of the Lambs. And I just think it was beautifully shot, it was wonderfully acted, and it was pretty consistent the whole way through. Ryan Murphy is known for having a good start and then not being able to land the plane. But I think he landed the plane this time. And then for books, I only read one book this month, and that was How Bad Things Can Get by Darcy Coates. Darcy Coates is my favorite horror author, and I have read every single book she's ever published, every single short story. I own every physical copy of her books, and this was her newest one. It is about a wealthy YouTuber who hosts an event on his private island. And on his private island, he sets all these games that you have to complete. And some of the games are deadly. And it's very Squid Game ish, but there's also a lot of cultish elements to it. I thought it was great. This is one of the goriest books she's ever written. She's not known for gore, so when she pushes herself out of her comfort zone, I get really proud of her. I just think that Darcy is going from strength to strength. And so, my friends, this is everything I watched and read in the month of October. Let me know what you guys watched and read. November, there's not a whole lot of horror movie releases. There is Keeper, which I'm hoping to see, and The Running Man, and also Predator Badlands. Also, even though I haven't finished it yet, I want you guys to know that I'm currently watching Welcome to Derry, which is a prequel to it. And I think it's absolutely phenomenal. It is so good so far. We've only had 2 episodes, but this has been well worth the wait. They are delivering and then some. But as always, let me know all of your thoughts, and I'll see you very soon for another video.